What's up, Surreal Football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. I got a special guest with me here today, my co-collaborator, my co-live streamer here, Mr. Dubs, the O-line guru himself. What's up, Dubs? How you doing, man?
What's up? How you doing, Gate? You doing good, man?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there, man. Feeling good, bro. Feeling good. Midweek, you know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's always something. You hit the midweek, you can see the end in sight. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, it's
Oh,
always
okay,
good.
that's
The
almost
weekend's
there.
coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we thought what we would do to start off today's topic for you guys. This is a question I get a lot. It's really difficult to answer because there are completely different skill sets between coaching and being a strength coach. those are drastically different tasks. Even at the high school level, you normally have a go-to guy, someone who's working. Normally teaches your strength and conditioning classes for the actual school. When I played ball, it was Coach Leach, who I think just retired actually recently for Garner. He was our strength and conditioning guy. So what we thought off we would do is we would talk about, you got a really, really athletically gifted young man. He's about to start high school, but he's the cardinal sin of football. He's underweight and he's under strength. All right, I'm going to start with you, man. What do you think from like ground up? What's the first approach you do with a guy who's underweight and just doesn't have enough strength yet to step onto a football?
Probably, first thing I would do is ask about his diet. I know he's a little younger. I would definitely ask about his diet, ask how much he's eating. He should benefit a lot because how young he is. He should be able to see gains quite quickly. His body should grow fast because he's younger. So I would first ask, what is he eating? I would ask him, is he eating enough protein? I'm asking, is he putting enough in there? I'm asking him, also junk food he's eating. Because sometimes all the food that you eat might not correlate to muscle, it might turn into fat, which he might be underweight, but you don't want to put fat on it. So there's a couple of things I would probably tell him. But the first thing I would tell him is ask him, what does he eat? He needs to eat plenty of meat. He needs to eat protein, chicken, steak, some stuff like that. Just a balanced diet. I know he's younger, but he needs to eat enough. He doesn't need to just be grabbing Lunchables if that's what he's doing. That could be a problem because I know when you're younger, you don't really put too much thought into what you eat.
And you know what? And the crazy thing is like when I was young, they started me off on like the weight gainers, which they're really just protein powders on steroids. Basically, you're upping it up with the sugars and stuff, but it's really just a protein powder being masked with a lot of sugar and stuff in it. To be quite honest, I would say that I think the method that you and I were just discussing, which is like you've got to eat an excess of calories, and you have got to get protein in there. Like you got to make sure you're getting it down. Now, this is the thing that always amazed me when I was younger. Like what they would do with me is when I would go in for conditioning, man, it would make me run so much. And I think if you're dealing with a guy who's underweight and they're already lacking ideal strength, to play at a certain level, I don't know that would be the advice I'd give a guy in that situation. I'm not saying conditioning in terms of running in sprints, maybe pushing sleds. I'm not saying those things aren't important, like maybe running hills, 20 minutes running hills, pushing sleds for 20 minutes or something. I'm not saying those things aren't important. I'm saying I would not put a guy on the treadmill for 30 minutes to an hour running.
Yeah, I'm not doing distance at all. I wouldn't do this. I'm doing probably speed work, quickness, explosion, stuff like that. That's what I would probably do for someone that's undersized. And anything that's so simple, especially if you're younger, like 14, and I know it's like sounds like something your dad would tell you something. Get on the floor and do push-ups. Get on the
100%.
floor and do push-ups. I know it sounds so simple and it sounds like nothing, but it really does teach your body how to move in weird predicaments. It's not like lifting your weight. It does something different for your body. It also works on your core. It will really help you a lot in football. But just get down there and do push-ups. Do as many as you can and just see and then build from there. Now I can give you a number that'll help you out like every single night, but if you're young and 14, you're athletic, just knock them out.
I love that original advice because even if you only have nickels or dimes to play with in terms of conditioning, there's three things you can do for really cheap. You can do push-ups, you can do pull-ups, you can do dips.
Literally.
Those don't cost you much of anything.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. I promise you, I done seen people that I done play ball with because, when you play ball, you got all the teammates come into your room and everything. And I can tell you several guys that body pretty much changed in 3 months off of just saying, yeah, man, I do push-ups every night.
Yeah.
Body look completely different.
So that's the interesting one is like when you get the push-ups, I think it's an interesting one, right? Because, anytime you're working out, whether you're dealing with a young man, whether you're dealing with a man in his 40s, his 50s, his 60s, it really, to me, it really comes down to a couple of things, which is what are you eating? Are you getting enough protein in your diet? And then, okay, tell me the volume and then tell me, in terms of after volume, tell me frequency. Like, and that's where I'm interested to see, like, how would you handle a kid in this situation in terms of the volume and the frequency?
That's why I said push-ups. I know I would assume that he's probably about to get ready to go into high school, and you're going to go to high school. They won't give you a workout program. And any workout program, that's fine. Just follow the program. But I know without a doubt, and I know it just sounds so simple, especially with you being this young and you probably never, like with somebody being that young and probably never doing it, if they get down there and do 250 push-ups every single night, within 2 weeks alone and eating right, if you're just doing that alone, you should do that every single day. So if we're talking about frequency, you should do push-ups every single day. But if we're talking about like an actual structured workout, I'm a firm believer in at least 4 days. I'm a 4-day guy. 4 days, give yourself 3 off. That's what I do. If
Even
you're
to
talking
this
about
day,
lifting heavy, like trying to, because you need your body time you can really go deep. You can go all the way deep into like what you should work out on what days and stuff.
To this day, man, I'm 40 years old, and 5 to 7 times a week, I hit something. Like,
literally.
I normally do anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes.
I'm
it's
the same
always,
way.
yeah,
Cardio
like
something. I'm doing something.
yeah,
Give me 20
yeah,
minutes
exactly.
cardio.
Like,
I'm
like,
doing something.
like I don't do a lot of running anymore. I don't do anything. I always make sure I'm getting 10,000 steps. Like, that's like, I keep this on my wrist for that exact reason, to make sure I'm hitting 10,000 steps, because 10,000 steps is 500 calories, simply put. And I do things like, I might do, contrasted things. So I might do like, bench press and pull-ups. So I'm pushing, I'm pulling, I'm working the chest, I'm working the back. I'm trying to, sorry, that's a dog. Hey, chill. And she knocked something over and then freaked out. But, I do things like that to try to like keep it going. But, when you're dealing with young guys, and like I was joking before we came on, I said, that age, you go out there, you go get you the spindle and lock weights, those, little 1-inch weights, the spindle and lock. You got your little easy curl bar, and you're in there doing them curls. Curls are for the girls. You're trying to curl. It's the wrong thing to do. Isolation movements are great. If you're looking for hypertrophy work and things like that, like isolation movements do make a ton of sense. But if you're training for strength, if you're training for explosion,
that's a whole
is that where
different
you would
thing.
go? Yeah, is that where you would go, or would you advise them to go in a different direction?
Oh, if I'm doing an explosion, I'm doing something. I was just about to say, and I was literally just about to ask why you talking about that. I wonder, position matters so much. I know I'm thinking deep into it. I will also ask, what position do you want to play? Because the first thing I would ask is about your lower body. Football is definitely a lower body sport. So when you say you're smaller, how's your lower body looking? I would probably ask. I had a bunch of wall sits. These are just simple things I can tell them. Like, man, go sit on a wall for every night. You feel me? These are just small things. Go do some calf raises.
Yeah, hold a wall sit for 5 minutes, bro.
Yeah, for 5 minutes. Do you some calf raises? Do you some air squats? Do you some what are they called? It's pretty much when you squat down and you jump up as high as you can. You explode all the way up. Any of those explosive movements you need to get, and especially because he's so young, and if they haven't done it yet, it would definitely do a lot if they just did that for 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm a fan of all those things, man. I mean, I always tell them,
like
look,
ball throws. I like all those. That's the type of stuff because it correlates right into football to me. Get your hips into it.
Yeah, throwing too. Just even baseball. That's a good one for baseball. It's a good one for a lot of different sports. Honestly,
picking up that medicine ball alone, like at his age and size, would be a great workout.
Yeah, and that's a tough one, because depending on where you're playing and what you're doing, you do need to have a combination of different things. You need a combination of strength, because you just need to get stronger. And I think biggest bang for your buck there is going to be doing those big compound lifts, getting more than one muscle involved. Stick to the 5, and then find the variations you like of the 5. Do your squats, your deadlifts, your bench, your overhead presses, and your rows. Those are the big 5. And then I would always work in your pull-ups, always work in your push-ups if you can. And then you want to find the things that you really enjoy for explosive movements, in my opinion. Like, it gets tough because like not everyone will have access to things like a T-bar, being able to do those, quick explosive movements with a T-bar and things like that to kind of get into shape like that. But, you can go get a pretty inexpensive sled off of Amazon, and you can load these sleds up and make your kid push it, and they'll get
Oh, you can do things without like I said, the one drill, like you squat down and you jump as high as you possibly can on both feet and you land. You do that. That is, I promise you, that is definitely getting your lower legs and your hips and training yourself how to reignite and going on through there, that's definitely explosion. And that'll, if you did 50 of those, your legs will be shot. We used to do it all the time in college. That was one of our summer workouts where we do outdoors. We're doing our sprints and conditioning. And then we would also do a lot of med ball work, like you said, for explosion and stuff. And that was one of the things that we did for explosion. It really gets you learning how to get out of your hips. Get out of your hips.
Yeah.
Boom. Get out of your hips. That has a lot to do with football. That's why explosion. If you work on explosion, even if you're a smaller guy, if you're explosive, we can get some work done. Look at Bob Sanders. Look at Bob Sanders. It really don't. You're explosive, we can get some work done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's a tough thing to get because there's so much to consider when you're working a kid out like this and you're trying to get them prepared like sport, because you definitely want to work between you want to make sure you're varying things between pushing and pulling. You want to make sure you're hitting those big compound lifts, right? You want to make sure you're working in all three of the different planes, you want to make sure you're moving forward, you're moving backwards, you're moving to the side, you're twisting, you're doing things to work all those planes, you're doing all those different things. But you also have to make sure that you're doing those explosive movements because you want to be as sport specific as you can.
Yes, the last thing you want to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The last thing that you want to do is to get slower in football. There's no whether you gain the weight or not. The last thing that you want to do is lose explosion. So that's what I would say focus on. I know I could definitely just tell you eat peanut butter jellies every day and just get bigger, but you got to get more so specific for football, I would say.
Yeah, when I was young, that was always the advice too, was peanut butter and jelly and then hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah. I used to eat boiled eggs in high school. That's what I would do. Boiled eggs in the morning.
Yeah.
I'd do boiled eggs in the morning in high school.
Everybody be mad at you. Trying to move away. Yeah, I used to do the same thing because I had to. Like, I had to keep weight. And it's interesting because we definitely play drastically different position groups. Like, I didn't have to play down in the trenches past like 12 years. Like, I didn't have to engage down there. And that's a different level of athlete. That's strength athlete right there.
I was just thinking the other day about, man, I really play like playing down there is a different world. Like I would tell people all the time, if you could just see one inside drill, that's what I tell her. Inside is my favorite football drill, is when there's nothing but O-line, D-line. It's the front seven. It's front seven on front seven, pretty much. So O-line, D-line, linebackers, running back, fullback, tight ends, and quarterback. And the quarterback just doing handoffs. It's a full run. It's only run. It's inside, so it's only run. So the defense knows run. Man, you talking about just flying around and car crashes the whole time. It's definitely a different world down there.
And it's crazy because, like, when you think about what's going on the interior of any line, the amount of force that has to be applied and the rate of pace that it has to be done at, like, I'm sure you guys do more explosive work than people realize. Because
all explosive work. Like I know countless drills for getting explosion through hips. I know countless drills about, like, when I say countless, because as an all offensive lineman, that's your bread and butter. Hips.
Yeah.
Get out your hips. Get out your hips. Rolling through your
exactly.
hips. All you hear is old lineman coach, roll your hips, roll your hips, roll your hips, roll your hips. That's all you hear.
It took me a long time to realize how important hip placement is when you're working down in the trenches. Like, it's not, it's not one of the first things that ever came to my mind because I didn't play down in there like that. But as I got involved in coaching and I saw how much went into teaching, like even working sleds, I always just thought it was a conditioning thing. I just thought they were conditioning us.
Oh, nah. Yeah, it's all about techniques. You got to know when to roll them hips. When you roll them hips, keep them legs moving. That's how you move people out the way. That's why people that it's very rare. That's why Jason Kelsey, what I was talking about last time we was on, that's what the way he get out of his hips. That's all explosion. You see how explosive? That's all his hips.
Yeah.
That's him getting out of his hips so great like that.
Yeah.
I bet that he can throw the heck out of a med ball if he got on his knees.
Ooh.
What we would do sometimes is get on our knees and have a med ball in our hand and get on all fours pretty much. You got to get up and throw it as hard as you can. You land on your stomach. You have the med ball out here and you kind of start over, coil up and throw it and roll your hips and land on your stomach.
What I always wondered, and I, it's something I would love to actually ask somebody who's working in, strength and conditioning, who's actually making programs. I wonder how much of what they do from an explosive standpoint mirrors the way that they bring up and they train and these young men that are working inside of like, MMA, how to strike. Because, there's
Yeah,
got to be some similarity there's got to be some overlap there.
it is my okay, so Johnny Robinson, a defensive lineman I played with, he played with the Colts for a second. He played with the Colts for a while, and then he went to Canada. Great defensive lineman, one of the best defensive linemen ever played against. Undersized guy, play a lot like kind of Jarrell Casey or Aaron Donald. I call it 99 Problems. Casey that used to play for the they used to play for the Titans, I believe. Yes, 99.
Yeah.
I call it 99 Problems. Yeah. He played a lot like them. He now does MMA, and he's one of the best ones in his gym right now. And it's all correlates to the same thing, hip explosion. The same thing in boxing. I do boxing in my spare time, man. It's a lot of similarities in turning your hips and knowing how to use your hips and using your legs to get power. And all that goes right into O-line.
Yeah,
All
I
that
mean,
go right into using your legs and knowing how to, in an awkward position, get as much power as possible through your hips.